Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watching for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Kumalak Yabushai, double honors to the elect elders of the house of David, that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Kumalak Yabushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive and diligent, and moving in the spirit of a righteous foremother. Shalom, shalom. And shalom to everybody tuning in live. HBK Int, Ancients Knew, Why Don't We? The Don Israel, Lion of Judah, Amaziah Yahweh, Shalom King, Yeshua Rael, Solomon McFadden, T. Sellers, Don Israel, Divine in Nature, LLC, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. The topic of this code, because it's WFI Law School. Right, so like you bear with me. WFI Law School, Deuteronomy chapter 17, and the laws of judgment and the king. So we want to dive into the Torah, right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right, Salakia. And we want to go straight into Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter, right? We're going to go into Salakia. All right, make sure this is taken care of. All right, and we're going to dive right into it, right? We're not going to beat around the bush. We're not going to play any games. We're going to go into Deuteronomy 17 and touch on judgment, justice, and touch on the laws of the king through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 17. All right, there are other diverse laws and commandments that go into this account, but this is Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 1. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil favoredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. So number one is outright, when the laws are implemented and when these sacrifices are being done, your sacrifices have to be pure. Right now, on a carnal level, if your bullock had one leg, or it was blind, it had one horn, it had a hole in its side, it had claws, and or other beasts were eating it alive, and you tried to offer it to the Most High, that's an abomination. Every sacrifice that's put forth has to be without spot and without blemish. Even in these last days, as we present our bodies as a living sacrifice, we have to make sure that our sacrifices are without spot and without blemish. Right? This is Romans chapter 12 and 1. Right? It reads, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. So even as we present our body as a living sacrifice, it has to be without spot and without blemish, meaning we have to be pure, upright. We can't serve the Most High and we're secretly, committing fornication. That means, you have blemishes. You can't be trying to serve Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and you're smoking weed, right? Or you're watching pornography, or you're doing God knows what. That means that your body, although it's being presented as a living sacrifice, it's being presented as a sacrifice with blemishes, right? So there's a lot of sacrifices that we do, and we want to make sure that every sacrifice we do is without spot and without blemish. Any work that we put our hand to is perfect, right? Let's move on. Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 2. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman that hath wrought wickedness in the sight of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua thy God, and transgressing his covenant, and hath gone and served other gods, and worshiped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard it, and inquired diligently, and behold, if it be true. And behold, it be true, and the thing certain, that such an abomination is wrought in Israel. Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which hath committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shall stone them with stones that they die. So this goes into how to execute judgment. Right now, the Most High said if somebody goes off, right, and they serve other gods, in the ancient world, they served Molech, Adrimelech, they served Raphaim, right? They served Baal and all these strange gods. If word got out, and even today, people serve Christianity goes back into sun worship. I'm not going to spend 2 hours to go into it, but that's common knowledge that modern day Christianity is predicated within sun worship. Islam goes back to moon worship, right? The number 2 religions of the earth right now goes back to the sun and moon worship. It goes back into worshiping the host of heaven. People that are into zodiacs, I'm a Pisces, I'm an Aquarius, Sagittarius, etc. And they entertain that and believe that the constellations can influence their behavior and their relationships with people. All of that is idolatry. The Lord is not dealing with you saying, oh, I'm a Pisces. I kind of, I only vibe with a Virgo. He got a Virgo vibe, right? You see that? Or she got a damn Sagittarius vibe. That's wickedness, man. If word goes out, what do you have to do first and foremost? Can you just take one person's word about something? And things can happen. You can hear an accusation or report about somebody, and there's a way to go about it, right? This thing has to be proven. That's why it says, and it be told thee, and thou hast heard it, and inquired diligently. So you have to see if that thing is true. Because somebody might say, yeah, I saw this brother eating pork, and you just believe it. You can't just believe everything and then say, yeah, let's kick him out the camp. Right? Let's put him on blast. A wise man, and when it comes to executing justice, and a lot of brothers, they call themselves kings. Right? Quick interjection. They call themselves king. I'm a king, Shalom king. Well, what is a king supposed to do? A king is supposed to be a master of the law. That's what a king does. Because a king has to sit in the seat of judgment. A king didn't just, sit down and eat grapes. When you go to the book of Luke, right? Let's go to Luke. I believe I want Luke, the 20th chapter. Right? Salaki, bear with me. Right? Bear with me. All right, when you go to Luke, the 20th chapter, this is Luke chapter 20 and verse, let's see, bear with me. I may have to come back to it. Maybe Luke. Slocky, let's get this out. Slocky. All right, this is Matthew chapter 20 and verse 25. Right, Matthew 20 and 25. I'll start at 25. But Yahushua called them unto him and said, ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. So our kings are supposed to be servants unto the people. They're supposed to judge the people, right? They're supposed to go to war on behalf of the people. Our kings went to war. Saul went to war. David went to war, right? Amaziah went to war. Our forefathers, and when we were kings, they lived like kings. They knew how to manage their wealth, right? They knew how to deal with husbandry. They knew how to invent things. So when you're a king, it's not just in word, man. Right? You can't really just, well, I'm a king. Well, brother, by blood, you're a king, right? And nobody can take that away from you. But are you living like a king? You got people that are Israelites by blood, but they don't keep the laws and the commandments like an Israelite would, man. So if you call yourself a king, you have to have the mind of a king, right? And you have to be a servant unto the people. And you have to know how to administrate justice. That's what Deuteronomy 17 is going how to make decisions when something is out of balance or out of measure, and how to restore the balance in a situation. Right? Let's go to Proverbs, the first chapter, real quick. Right? Because you're gonna have to deal with that. Two brothers may have an ought, right? You may be in a position of leadership, and a problem may be presented to you, and you have to know how to go into the law. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, when you're a king, you have to be a master of the law. Okay, and really nobody, the top two people that should know the law are the high priest and the king. Right? This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity. So Solomon had Proverbs for men to receive the wisdom or the instruction of wisdom, meaning how to instruct you to be wise. And there's instruction for justice and judgment and equity. And as men of the Lord, brothers have to know how to execute justice. And it has to be true justice. It can't be a respect of persons. We're going to touch on that. It can't be impartial judgment. It can't be, well, this brother said this, and I kind of like this brother. No. All decision making has to be based off of the law. And you have to follow the commandments on how to execute justice. You have to know how to deal with the one or two witnesses or two or three witnesses. You have to know how to bring matters before the church. You have to know how to go into the law. These are the things that a king has to know. And if we are calling ourselves kings, we have to know the law. All right? Because you can't judge off of your emotions. You have to know justice and judgment and equity. This is what Deuteronomy 17 is going into. How to execute judgment. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 17 and 4. And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquire diligently. So, number one thing as a king, you have to inquire diligently. You can't just hear one side of the story and just run with it, man. It don't matter how long you've been knowing this person. It don't matter how much money they have. It don't matter who they are. You have to figure this thing out. Right? Now, let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes, the 19th chapter. Right? You got to figure this thing out. Let's get a precept on that. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 19 and verse 15. It reads, admonish a friend, for many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale. So sometimes somebody may bring something up to you, and it may just be slander to defame somebody's image, right? Somebody may say, yeah, I saw this sister, or I saw this brother committing fornication. Sometimes brothers just want to give you a bad name. And you can't be the brother that just hear what somebody say and allow it to pervert your mind. You got to say, okay, well, you saw this brother committing fornication. I mean, can you prove it? Are there witnesses? And you got to be bold about it. Because the Lord is watching. The Lord want to see if you are not executing fair justice in the land. He has the angels around you. Right? Let me get that in Proverbs. Right? He has the angels around you. Proverbs. Actually, let's go to 2 Chronicles. I'll get another one. Let me get this, right? 2 Chronicles chapter 16. 2 Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 9. For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong in the behalf of them whose heart is perfect toward him. Herein thou hast done foolishly. Therefore, from henceforth thou shalt have wars. You see that? The Most High told the king Asa that the angels, which are the eyes of the Lord, they run to and fro throughout the earth. They're everywhere, recording and documenting every word and every action that's spoken. And the Most High is going to show himself strong in behalf of them whose mind is perfect towards him. So if you are taking bribes, taking gifts, perverting judgment, right, allowing the whatever, the Most High is going to deal with you accordingly, according to your works. That's why, again, the law says inquire diligently. It reads in Sirach 19:15, admonish your friend, for many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale. Part of being a king and dealing with judgment is when matters are brought before you, do not take it off of face value. Don't just run with one side of the story. Proverbs 14:15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. Don't just believe every word from anybody. Even if they're using big words or they dress nice or whatever, or you've been knowing this person. You can't just believe every word. You must inquire diligently, right? The Lord said what? 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:21. Prove all things. Hold fast that which is good. So if a brother brings a report to you, you have to assess that report. And that brother has to prove that. Right? And you got to say, hold on, well, you can't prove it. And I can't go off of you being one witness. Do you have any witnesses? Right? Is there anybody that saw that with you, that saw this brother eat pork with you? Go to Deuteronomy 19. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, and any sin that he sinneth. At the mouth of two witnesses or at the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. So if one brother come to you and say, yeah, I saw this guy eating pork, you can't base your decision off of that one brother. You just can't. If you allow one witness to influence how you judge or perceive a matter, then you don't deserve to be a king. Because a king is going to be bold and say, I heard what you said. Let's get down. Let's hear the other side of the matter. That's weighing things in the balance. Right? You got to hear this matter. You got to hear this matter. This witness said this. Right? Well, what does this person say? That's for any sin. It could be, hey, I didn't see this brother having fringes on, so I saw this brother committing outright stone cold adultery. You need to have witnesses, right? And you have to, a witness is what? Somebody that saw that same thing happen. That's what a witness is. Right? A witness is not just any Joe Schmo from God knows where. A witness is somebody that say, yeah, I was there. I saw this guy committing adultery. He had a red coat on. She had a red dress on. It was right on the Passover. Then the other witness says, yeah, I saw him too. Then you may have a third witness that say, yep, I was there. Then you establish the matter. Then you say, yes, that's okay. You committed adultery. Now that brother can say, well, I didn't. You say, well, hold on, you don't have any witnesses. And if you don't have no witnesses, and these brothers witness against him, then the favor goes in the matter of those who saw it and the witnesses. Okay? That's why you inquire diligently. Part of your inquisition, that's the biblical word, is to seek witnesses and proof of charges and matters that are brought up on any individual. Okay? Let's get the word inquisition. Right? Inquisition definition. See that? Inquisition, a period of prolonged and intensive questioning or investigation. There has to be an investigation done. When you inquire about something, you make an inquisition. You start asking questions. You start looking for evidence. You start seeing who was there, who wasn't there. Where did it happen? What time did it happen? Do all of the stories add up? Do the witnesses all corroborate? Because you could have brothers that witness to something, but their stories don't add up. Like when you read Bell and the Dragon, right? These were two witnesses, and they were false witnesses because their stories didn't add up, and they were witnessing to the same matter. Let's get that. Let's go to Bell and the Dragon. That's a beautiful account of justice and how to execute judgment in the land. We all have to know how to execute judgment. It's like it is history, Susanna. Judgment and justice, and not be influenced by man or emotions. A king that sits in judgment, he cannot be emotional. He cannot be persuaded or slighted by anybody. He has to be completely impartial, or it's like a completely objective. Right? Let's get that word objective. Kind of get into these definitions. All right, objective. All right, objective judgment. See that? What is objective judgment? It's based on real facts and not influenced by personal beliefs. See that? A brother might be wrong, and the brother might, he might have money. So another brother might say, well, I mean, this brother got money. I mean, I'm kind of broke right now. If I say this brother's wrong, then how am I going to get money for rent? And this guy might wear blue. You might not like blue. So what, man? If this brother's right, he's right. You cannot allow personal beliefs or emotions to influence the facts. Facts are the facts. If three people saw this guy commit adultery and they all said he had a red jacket on, that's the facts, man. Now, this brother could come to you and say, well, I mean, how are you going to believe them? I've been knowing you for 20 years. I've been knowing you my whole life. Please don't do this to me. And you got to be stone cold, stone hard about it. Say, these are the witnesses. This is the matter. You have committed adultery, and it is what it is. Now, he might not like you, man. And this guy might be upset. But guess what? I mean that's the matter at hand. Now, if you don't have objective judgment, then that would be called a respect of persons, right? That would be called what the Most High calls a respect of persons in the land. And that is a huge sin, a very weighty sin in the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Right? You cannot have a respect of persons when it comes to judgment as a king. This is Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 14. I'll start at 15. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads over you. Right, Salakia? Right, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. So the Lord set rank and structure like a court system, right? You got your Supreme Court. That was the matter brought before the king or the priest. Then you had other captains and other judges. So there was like a chain of command. That's where Esau get his court system from. When you look up Esau's court system, they're like district courts, circuit courts, federal courts, Supreme Court. Let's look up Esau's court system. America's court system. Right? See their court system. And they get that from the scriptures. So you look it up, it says state trial, state appellate, state Supreme Courts. Then they got U.S. district courts, U.S. Court of Appeals. See that? So these are all the different courts they got. Right? Local trial courts, state courts, right? U.S. federal circuit courts. And the ultimate court is Esau's Supreme Court. Right? You see that? Then you got military courts. But it all branches back up to the Supreme Court. All right? And this is in the ancient world equivalent to where the matter would be brought before the king. So, any matter like the matter between the two women in song in First Kings, the 3rd chapter, where Solomon was going to split the baby in half, that matter had to have been brought up. Nobody could really figure out what to do. So it had to be brought before King Solomon. It's not like these women just kicked the door down and said, Solomon, take on our case. No, this thing escalated. They had to let these women into the before the seat of the king, into the temple, right, or the king's house, and they had to really go through the chain of command. So matters in the ancient world had to work their way up before they got to the king. When they got to the king had to be a master in the law. He couldn't say, well, what commandment was that again? No, he has to know that. All right. So if you call yourself a king, Shalom King, Yahweh Bashem Abishai, Shalom Malak, you gotta know how to execute justice and judgment. Okay. So let's read this again. Deuteronomy chapter 1-15. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men, and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother and the stranger that is with him. So what is judging righteously? Right? That goes into following the administration, hearing the witnesses, not believing every tale, right? Not allowing brothers to cut each other off in the midst of their speech, right? Not being a respect of persons, not taking money, not taking bribes, not allowing your own emotions to override the facts. That's sound, righteous judgment. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. See that? So you can't be a respect of persons in judgment, meaning you can't favorite somebody over somebody else. Rather you've been knowing this person longer, rather this person got money, rather this person is extremely mighty, or some brothers respect persons because this person's poor. Oh, he's so poor. Just let him get away with God knows what. Oh, he's such a young man. Oh, he's a Judite. Should we really deal with a Judite like that? That's respect the persons. Let's go to James, the 2nd chapter. The Most High is against that, huh? Go to James chapter 2. Right? Anybody can get it. Right? As a king, anybody could get it, man. James chapter 2:1. My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, the Lord of glory, with respect to persons. For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring and goodly apparel, and there come in also a poor man in vile raiment, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit under my footstool. So some people, man, they treat rich people better than they treat poor people, right? I mean, that happens all the time when celebrities walk in, or A-list actors and world-renowned NBA athletes, NFL athletes. These people can't do no wrong. These guys get away with murder, man. These guys get away with a lot of stuff. I mean, these celebrities are wicked, man. They get away with anything. And then the poor man, they get all jammed up. So you can't favor the rich over the poor. The Lord said, are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? See, you don't want to become partial in judgment. Like, it becomes unbalanced. And what a rich man, he do got a gold ring. I mean, look how fly his brother is. How can he be wrong? Look at his garment. Look at his woolly beard. He has a long beard. He has a big, thick Bible, man, with the little riffles on the pages. He has a strong staff. He has 12 sons and 4 wives. This brother cannot be wrong. I mean, look at him. Look at his track record. Right? No, you can't go off all of that. You have to go off of the matter at hand. The matter at hand. Because the brother could be off 10 times, but then can be right the 11th time. And you can't pervert judgment and say, well, brother, you've been off 10 times. You're wrong the 11th time. No, you have to hear every matter with a sound mind. You have to have a sound mind, and you cannot allow those 10 oughts to influence this 11th ought. You just can't. That's becoming partial. You know, and vice versa. A brother could be right 10 times. Doesn't mean he's going to be right the 11th time. You can say, well, this brother always come to counsel. His brother always is right. Well, why are we even doing it? Just get his brother the benefit of the doubt. No, that's off, man. You got to say, well, we still got to hear this matter out. We still have to hear this matter. You cannot be partial and become a judge of it. You know, you start having evil thoughts of corruption. Right? Verse 5. Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not the Most High chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom, which he hath promised to them that love him. Okay, so these are certain precepts that you want to kind of add to your arsenal, that you don't be partial in judgment. Go to Jeremiah, the 24th chapter. Actually, I want 20. So this is Jeremiah chapter 26 and verse 7. Here's an example of a wicked judgment. Right? This is wicked judgment. It reads, Jeremiah 26 and 7. So the priests and the prophets and all the people heard Jeremiah speaking these words in the house of the Lord. Now it came to pass, when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all that the Lord commanded him to speak unto all the people, that the priests and the prophets and all the people took him, saying, thou shalt surely die. Well, that's wicked. What did Jeremiah do to deserve death? This is wicked judgment. Hasty judgment. They didn't inquire diligently. Why hast thou prophesied in the name of the Lord, saying, this house shall be like Shiloh, and this city shall be desolate without an inhabitant? And all the people are gathered against Jeremiah in the house of the Lord. So you see that? Some people too, when it comes to judgment, they let the crowd influence them. You can't let the crowd influence your judgment either. See, all these people gathered against Jeremiah, but, you know, the men should have said, hold on, this is off, right? This is off. Let's not do this. Let's not shed innocent blood. Even Gamaliel said, look, you know, think about what you're going to do to these men. Right? You can't allow the crowd to influence you either. This is Acts chapter 5 and verse 33. And when they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them. So the Pharisees, the scribes, and the elders, right, these wicked men of Israel, they want to kill Peter and John, right, and the apostles, because, you know, Peter cut them, right? He said it is rather serve God than man, you know, and he kind of cut them. Verse 34. But then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had a reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space, and said unto them, ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves which ye intend to do as touching these men. Because these men was about to get, if Gamaliel didn't say anything, they would have falsely killed and condemned unjustly the apostles. Gamaliel being a doctor of the law, meaning a master of the law. He knew the law about Deuteronomy 1 and 15, Deuteronomy chapter 17. He knew the laws about respected persons, not being partial in judgment. So he said, hold on. Think about what you do. Y'all about to slay these men. For before these days rose up Theudas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who were slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. After this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of God, ye cannot overthrow it, lest happily ye be found even to fight against the Most High. So this man gave wise counsel. And he didn't allow the influence of the crowd to pervert his judgment. Right? And a lot of brothers do that. They just go with the crowd because they're afraid to go against the masses. Right? You can't be afraid to go against the masses. If 20 people are wrong, then guess what? 20 people are wrong. Don't be the 21st person that's wrong. And you're just influenced. You'll never be accepted with us. You gotta say, look, all 20 of y'all are off. You gotta stand up for the truth, man. Right? If the truth is the truth. Right? The truth is the truth no matter what. I'm gonna read Exodus chapter 23 and 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. What does that mean? Right? What does this mean? Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Meaning, if you have many people perverting judgment and saying, yeah, I saw this guy commit adultery. Let's say you got 20 people. They can't prove it. There's no evidence, but they hate this man. They say, yeah, we saw this guy commit adultery. You cannot speak to twist the judgment and say, yeah, I saw him too. Like I brought out earlier, you can't be the 21st person and you start twisting the judgment up. You gotta say, hold on, no. Y'all can't prove it. You know? That's part of judgment and not being a respected persons. Verse 3, Exodus 23 and 3. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. What does that mean? You can't countenance a poor man in his cause. Even if a poor man is off, he's off. If a poor man stole, he stole. If a poor man committed adultery, he committed adultery. You can't say, well, he's poor. Oh, you know, he's just give him a fair shake. He committed murder, but he's poor. No. You know, I was, and I want to pull this up in another translation. I was talking to a brother yesterday, and there's this situation happened out of the body. You know, this was outside the congregation, but it was a matter of adultery that transpired. It was a matter of adultery, and a woman committed adultery. And, you know, the woman was knowing the truth. You know, the woman felt bad. You know, she felt bad afterwards, right? She felt bad after the fact that she committed adultery. You know, the sister was you know, upset, but she was penitent. I'm saying that right. You know, she was remorseful. You know, she wanted to try to make things right. She wanted to kind of get back with her husband. And you know, I was talking to the brother. I said, hey, look, hey, you know, it doesn't matter. I didn't say it exactly in these words, but you know, I said it doesn't matter if this sister is upset, man. It doesn't matter if she's crying. It doesn't matter if she wants to get things right. If she committed adultery, she committed adultery. The judgment has to be set forth, right? You can't say, well, you know, not that the brother was doing this, but you can't say, well, oh, well, you know, but she feels so bad. She just want to get right. And no, that doesn't matter. You can't let the tears and a sob story overthrow you. You have to, again, be objective. And the facts are the facts. The witnesses are the witnesses. And the proof is the proof. And it is what it is. Right? This is Exodus 23. Right? I want to get verse. Oh no, you see that? Hold on. Let me start at verse 1. Right? Dealing with judgment as a king. See that? NLT, you must not pass along false rumors. You must not cooperate with evil people by lying on the witness stand. Right? Yeah, that's plain. Verse 2. I'm just going off the NLT. You must not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you are called to testify in a dispute, do not be swayed by the crowd to twist justice. You see that? You can't be just being swayed by the crowd, man. That's a very, very evil thing to do. Right? That's a very evil thing. A lot of people die like that, man. You know, a lot of people they lose their life. People get exiled, banished, you know, spoiled, you know, and the Most High is watching you. There's one thing you don't play around with, right? There's many things, but judgment always must be pure, and it must be pure because the Most High is watching you, man, right? And you don't want the Most High to pervert judgment on you. What if the Most High perverted judgment on you and you was worried to get the kingdom, but the Most High said, well, you know, I don't feel like it, right? You should just twist the judgment up a little, right? Angel, why don't you add this into his records? Why don't you just say that he committed adultery? Then you get brought before judgment. The Lord said, yeah, you committed adultery. Yeah. Destroy him. Hey, nobody wants that, man. The Most High doesn't pervert judgment and justice. So why should we? Right? Aren't we made in the image of Yahweh? Bashem Yahushua? Right? So let's read on. Exodus chapter 23:3. Here's what I want. And do not slant your testimony in favor of a person just because that person is poor. Right? Berean Standard Bible. This is plain. And do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit. You see that? A lot of brothers, they get swayed by the poor. Oh, he's poor. What else is he going to do? I mean, he's vexed his soul. He had to steal. He's poor. He should be allowed to do this. No. Yeah, you're poor. Yeah, you committed adultery, and it's still wicked. You'll be a poor, wicked man. Don't let the poor man or the short person or the brother he new to the truth, the brother, you know, he tweeted on his thumbs, got his glasses on like this, the tape on his glasses. And the brother just popped somebody's wife. Don't let the tape on the glasses and that. Who, me? Yes, you, brother. You committed adultery. Well, hey, look, hey, nobody cares about that pushing up your glasses with the damn tape on it, man. You know? It reads, do not show favoritism to a poor man in his lawsuit. That also goes into what? Do not be a respected persons. Right? We read in James, the 2nd chapter, about not being not showing favoritism to a rich man. Now we're going to not showing favoritism to a poor man. Right? Don't show favoritism to a gender. If a woman is wicked, she's wicked. A lot of brothers, oh, well, she's the weaker vessel. But brother, she went off, though. That doesn't justify it. Being a weaker vessel does not justify sin. Being a woman does not justify sin. There's no justification for sin. There's no excuse. Yeah, I committed adultery because I was feeling bad. And, you know, I was just having a bad day today. And, you know, I thought that maybe nobody cares about that, man. Nobody wants to hear that. No excuse for transgression. Brothers have to be held accountable because Yahweh Bashmel Shah is going to hold us accountable. All right? That's part of executing justice. It's not just knowing judgment. It's about executing that when it's time. Because a lot of brothers know what to do. When the pressure's on them to do it, they fold. And they start folding with the crowd. And they start folding to being influenced. They know what's supposed to be done. They know justice, but they don't know how to execute. Or they know judgment, but they don't know how to execute justice. It's a difference. You can know judgment, meaning know the judgment that's supposed to happen, but when you got to execute it and perform it, a lot of brothers get kind of shaken up by a lot of the things we going over. Let's go to the book of Exodus, the 23rd chapter. Let's jump down to verse 8. Right, I'm going to start at verse 6. Thou shalt not wrest the judgment of thy poor in his cause. And you can't twist the judgment of the poor. If the poor is right, he's right. Keep thee far from a false matter. And the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And there's a lot of wicked counsels that can happen. There's a lot of wicked counsels in Israel. Plots and plans and, evil surmisings. And you have to be the brother willing to go against the grain. If it comes down to it, even if a whole multitude turn against you, you still have to stand up for the truth. Because the Lord is not going to justify the wicked. And that's a very evil thing to slay the innocent and the righteous. Because the Most High is going to destroy men like that. All right, verse 8. And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise and perverteth the words of the righteous. So if you're judging the matter, you can't take gifts, right? A brother committed adultery, and the brother say, "Here, I just got paid." The brother, he gave you, $300. Say, "Here, I hold on to that for me." It's more where that came from. You look out, I'll look out. A lot of brothers, they take that $300 and they're looking forward to the next 300. So although the brother committed adultery, they say, well, you got to think about it. They pervert judgment and they let that brother get away with it. And they start heaping up money. You cannot take a gift. You cannot allow some materialistic things to influence your judgment. You cannot allow materialistic things to influence the decision. You just can't. You can't let it override what's the truth. All right. All of this you have to take into account. Right? Because, we are, like I keep going into, we are kings. And kings have to know how to delegate matters in wisdom and to administrate justice when it's time. A lot of brothers want to be rulers over 10 cities, 5 cities. Don't you know in the kingdom, we're going to have to, these laws are going to be in our inward parts, but we're going to have to judge the heathen. We're going to have to judge them. When the Moabites get into it, we're going to have to go into the law and say, well, that's off because of this, and that's off because of this. Right? We're going to be putting these heathen in order. It's going to be according to the law. So again, the law says in Deuteronomy chapter 1 and 17, ye shall not respect persons in judgment, but ye shall hear the small as well as the great. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man. And that's another thing. You can't be afraid of the face of man. I don't want to get on that brother bad side. What if that brother doesn't like me anymore? What if our friendship will never be the same? What if he throws me under the bus? What if he kicks me out of the congregation? So what, man? You can't be afraid of man. Right? A lot of brothers know what to do till that brother walk up on him, say, all right, let's deal with the matter. Well, okay, all right, we'll deal with it. Right? Brother, you're right. And that brother, that big brother say, yeah, that's what I thought. Now get online. Right? No, hey, brother's off, man. That judgment is the Most High's. And you may have a matter that's too hard for you to judge. You got to take it up. You bring it up the chain. So the matters that were too hard for the men in the ancient world to deal with, they brought it up before Moses. right? They brought it up before Moses. So you may have a matter that's too hard for you. You may have to go before another brother, right? Or somebody above you in the spirit. See, I'm trying to figure out what to do. What should we do? So then you'll bring that matter up to counsel, and you'll have other men, more experienced men, that say this should be done, this should be done, and this should be done according to the precepts. Then those men might not figure it out. So they may get other elders on the line and say, look, here's the matter at hand. Then the elders say, based off of this scripture, this scripture, experience in this should be done in the land. All of that goes into executing sound, righteous judgment. All right. Let's go to the book of Zechariah, first chapter. All right. This is Zechariah, chapter 1 and verse. Let's see. Actually, I want Zephaniah. So like it's Zephaniah, chapter 1. All right. This is Zephaniah, chapter 1 and verse. We'll start at. Bear with me. I'll hold this precept. Right, we'll hold this one. Right, let's go back. Let's go back to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17. Right, Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 4. It reads, "And it be told thee," so this is a matter of a sin being brought to light. "And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and the thing certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel." So the only way to know if something is true and certain is if you inquire diligently. Okay, you saw the facts, there were witnesses, right? And the witnesses all linked up. Like I was going to go into with history of Susanna, those witnesses didn't link up. One witness said, I saw under this kind of tree. Other one said a mastic tree, and those men got put to death. Daniel examined them. And you can do that. You can examine brothers. You can examine witnesses. Let's actually jump down. I'm not going to read this whole account, right? You kind of read on your own. This is History of Susanna, chapter 1 and verse 48. "So he's standing in the midst of them." This is what Daniel said, because the Lord put a spirit on Daniel to deliver Susanna, because Susanna was about to be falsely condemned unto death. She was going to be put to death for adultery, but she never committed adultery. And then everybody in the crowd was like, yeah, kill her, put her to death. So Daniel stood up, and Daniel said, hold on, I'm going to clear the blood from this woman. Hold on. This is a beautiful account, man. This is a beautiful account. This is, boy, this whole thing is good. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So this is, I'll start at verse 40, right? History of Susanna, chapter 1 and 40. "But having taken this woman, we asked who the young man was, but she would not tell us. These things do we testify." So these wicked, nasty perverts from Babylon, these men bore false witness on Susanna, said that a young man committed adultery with her, and they couldn't catch the man because he was stronger than them, and he leaped out and ran. And they said, we saw her commit adultery. Now check this out. There was no proof. There was no evidence. There was none of that. No witnesses except these men. But what happened? Then the assembly believed them, as those that were the elders and judges of the people, so they condemned her to death. So they went off. You can't just believe people because they're an elder, because they're the judge of the other people. That's called what? Respect of persons. They didn't even hear what Susanna had to say. Oh, well, these are the elders. They must be right. Kill her. Like a mob. Like a heathen mob spirit, man. They're probably eating food and, yeah, kill her. She's a whore. Kill her. Stone her. Then Susanna cried out with a loud voice and said, O everlasting God, that knowest the secrets and knowest all things before they be, thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me. And behold, I must die, whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against me. And you got to cry out. When somebody's bearing false witness on you, you got to say something. You got to speak. Don't let people just bear false witness on you, man, and not say nothing. Well, yeah, you're right. I did commit adultery. No, don't be a fool. That would be foolish for Susanna not to cry out in judgment. Because, I mean, we're going over executing judgment, but you might be in a situation where you gotta speak up. You gotta say something. Don't let people just ride all over you, man. Yeah, well, yeah, I did commit adultery. I mean, think about it. No, brother, you didn't commit adultery. Stop just taking charges all the time. Now, we just kind of went into turn the other cheek and certain things like that, but this is a matter of life and death in the ancient world. So she cried out to the Most High. And if you in the matter and you got false charges on you, you cry out to the Most High and say what you got to say, man. You can't say it in the grave. But guess what? The Lord heard her, and the Lord heard her voice. Therefore, when she was led to be put to death, the Lord raised up the Holy Spirit of a young youth whose name was Daniel, who cried with a loud voice, I am clear from the blood of this woman. Now, you could do that. You could do that. It could be a matter that's where injustice is taking place. And you can stand up and say, look, I am clear from the blood of this woman or this man. Yeah, y'all want to put this brother to death for committing adultery. I'm going to clear his blood out. Put his blood on me if I'm wrong. Right? You can do that. That's that I object spirit. I object in a court of law. Now, from the assembly, you could do that. If you could, now that's a bold thing to do. Now, Daniel, they didn't care that the assembly was a respected persons. He didn't care that these men were judges. He didn't care that they were elders. He didn't give a damn. The truth is the truth. A lie is a lie, and Daniel is going to be an ambassador for Yahweh Bashmi Awashai, straight up and down. A beautiful example on how not to twist judgment. Beautiful example on not being a respected persons and standing up for what's right. That's another thing. You have to stand up for what's right. A lot of brothers don't want to speak up and say something when something's off. I ain't none of my business. I ain't really. I mean, I'm gonna just mind my business over here. I'm gonna kind of do my thing over here a little bit and kind of chill, see what happens. No, you better say something. If you don't say something, that's a sin. Let's get that. That is a sin. Let's get this in Leviticus 19. All right. Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 16. Now, thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. What does this mean? Thou shalt not, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. Let's pull this up. Right? Neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. That is a law right there. You cannot just see injustice happen to your neighbor and not do anything. Right? That would be off. I'm trying to go to Leviticus 19. All right, bear with me. Okay. I'm after. All right, here we have it. Okay, Leviticus 19 and 16, right? Let's get this. Right, let's get this in another translation, right? Kind of just help bridge the gap sometimes. Now, this Leviticus 19 and 16 NLT. Do not spread slanderous gossip among your people. Do not stand idly by when your neighbor's life is threatened. I am the Lord. You can't stand idly by if your neighbor is about to be murdered. Ain't none of my business. Wow, a lot of brothers are just recording stuff, and women. That's the thing now. I mean, you have injustice happening, people jumping people, robbing people, and I mean, some stuff you want to use wisdom about. But if your neighbor's life is being threatened and there's about to be judgment executed, you got to say something. If you don't, you're in sin. And that's why it's very important to know these laws and these commandments. Right? I mean, we got to know these commandments. We have to know the statutes, the ordinances. When we talk about there's over 613 commandments, you know, we can't just throw that number out there and only know, okay, you can't eat pork, okay, you can't eat shrimp, crab, and lobster, okay, grow your beard out, keep the Sabbath, wear fringes, no tattoos, right? No food with blood in it. You got to kind of push yourself and challenge yourself. Again, I'm going to say it again. We're kings as men of the Lord. We have to be masters of the law, doctors and lawyers, spiritually, right? It reads, do not stand idly by when your neighbor's life is threatened. Do not stand up against the life of your neighbor. All right. So let's go back to this. So that's why Daniel said, I am clear from the blood of this woman, because he's keeping the law. Then all the people, this history, Susanna, chapter 1 and 47. Then all the people turned, it's like it. Then all the people turned them towards him and said, what mean these words that thou hast spoken? So he standing in the midst of them said, are ye such fools, ye sons of Israel, that without examination or knowledge of the truth, ye have condemned a daughter of Israel? So you would be a fool without examination or knowledge of the truth to just bring out a condemnation, to say somebody's off, to lay charges on people, to condemn somebody. Right? When you condemn somebody, it means with damnation. You're laying out a heavy judgment. But you have to hear the matter. You got to hear the witnesses. People got to prove things. You know? It reads, return again to the place of judgment, for they have borne false witness against her. Wherefore all the people turned again in haste. And the elders said unto him, come sit down among us and show it us, seeing the Most High hath given thee the honor of an elder. It's like it. Then Daniel said unto them, put these two aside, one far from another, and I will examine them. You see that? So Daniel put them on a hot seat, man. Right? To see if their stories added up. And you got to do that. If you got two witnesses that say that they saw something happen, what should you do? You have to see if these witnesses are true. And you may have to take one witness and ask his witness, hey, what happened? Then you may say, okay, all right, hold on. Then you ask the other witness, hey, what happened? And if those witnesses' stories don't add up and link up, then somebody's a false witness. And the case is thrown out. Right? And that person's delivered. So Daniel said, look, I'm going to examine them. So when they were put asunder one from another, he called one of them and said unto him, O thou that art waxen old in wickedness, now thy sins which thou hast committed aforetime are come to light. For thou hast pronounced false judgment, and hast condemned the innocent, and hast let the guilty go free. Albeit the Lord said, the innocent and righteous shalt thou not slay. So you see, Daniel knew the law. You can't let the guilty go free and condemn the innocent. Now, then if thou hast seen her, tell me, under what tree sawest thou them companying together, who answered, under a mastic tree? So he said, look, where'd you see him at? If you saw her commit adultery, where was you at? Where was they at? Oh, well, yo, why? I saw him under a mastic tree. And Daniel said, very well, thou hast lied against thine own head. For even now the angel of God hath received the sentence of God to cut thee in two. Because the angels are there. The angels are at these councils. They're there at the seat of judgment. Ready. Remember, we read that the judgment is the Most High's. That's why judgment has to be pure. It has to be upright. Because even the angels, they're waiting for the Most High to tell them, yeah, get up with this guy right here, man. You know, cut him in half. Verse 56. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and said unto him, O thou seed of Canaan, and not of Judah, beauty hath deceived thee, and lust hath perverted thine heart. Thus had ye dealt with the daughters of Israel, and they for fear companied with you. But the daughter of Judah will not abide your wickedness. Now therefore tell me, under what tree didst thou take them company together? Who answered, under a home tree. So they lied. One said under a mastic tree, one said under a home tree. Right? Then said Daniel unto him, well, thou hast lied against thine own head, for the angel of the Most High waiteth with the sword to cut thee in two, that he may destroy thee. With that, all the assembly cried out with a loud voice and praised the Most High, who saveth them that trust in him. Salakia. And they arose against the two elders, for Daniel had convicted them of false witness by their own mouth. So the assembly knew that these guys was lying. And according to the law of Moses, they did unto them in such sort as they maliciously intended to do to their neighbor, and they put them to death. Thus the innocent blood was saved the same day. You see that? So, because the law says in Deuteronomy 19:15 or down, if you bear false witness on somebody, even a sinner to death, if you get caught in a lie, you get put to death. So that bearing false witness is heavy, because there's a judgment for a person. If you witness somebody taking the ox, right, and you lie, you got to restore a 4 oxen, huh? You know, you got to kind of do what you deal with what you thought that person should have done. So all of this goes into knowing how to deal with justice and judgment in the land. All right, let's go back to this. Let's go to 1 Kings, 3rd chapter. All right. This is 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 16. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. So Solomon is hearing both sides, right? He's not allowing them to cut each other off. He's not taking money. He's not being influenced. He's sitting royally or regally in a manner, and he's just listening, right? He's not distracted. He's not thinking about, all of his wives. He's attentive. When you're a judge, you have to pay attention, because somebody a lie and double back. Say, hold on, first you said it happened at 5 p.m. Now you said it happened at 3 a.m. Well, I really meant no. Well, you got caught in a lie. So when you're executing judgment, you have to be completely and wholly given to the matter presented to you. Otherwise, you're perverting judgment. You're on your phone and somebody's bringing a matter of adultery. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, yeah, come on. Get to the point. Come on, hurry up. Right? You're taking phone calls. That's off, man. Hey, if you're giving judgment, hey, everything's shut down, man. You're hearing the matter. When you're giving counsel, you're hearing the matter. Sometimes I take notes, man. If I got to give a counsel, I got a pen and a pad, because I may not remember everything. So I'm gonna document it. Hey, look, you said this and you said that, right? Did you say this? You said that, and kind of scribe that thing out, man. You know, that's what they got in court. They got the just like a stenographer or something like that, right? Person in court who types everything down. What's that called? That's a stenographer. Or a court reporter is the person who writes everything down that everybody says in court. Yeah, because you got to record what happened, man. That's why even Esau got a stenographer, right? A stenographer records everything that happens during court procedures. They utilize shorthand, a shortened version of English, to record language at speed to keep a verbatim record of legal and medical proceedings. So, if you got to kind of write stuff down to keep account, then you got to do that, So let's read on. And the one woman said, "Oh, my Lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day, after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also. And we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house." Two harlots got pregnant, right? It was pregnant around the same time. One delivered a child, then 3 days later, the other one delivered their child. They were all alone. And this woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it. So she rolled over and suffocated her child when the child was asleep and the mother was asleep. And she arose at midnight, and this is wicked. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. So that's off. She woke up, right? Got the crust out her eyes at midnight, saw her son was suffocated, did that, right? Didn't scream, didn't yell. She was quiet. She took her son, right? This is wickedness, man. That's like Eve who take their child and throw him in a dumpster, put him in a garbage bag and wrap him up and put him in a trash can, right? Or leave him in somebody's front porch. You would think she would scream and make a big scene at 12 a.m. in the middle of the night, not be a demon, and take her child in stealth mode, her dead child, and just swap babies, man. This is madness. This is an evil thing. Verse 21. This is called a man stealing, right? Let's go to Exodus 21, right? Exodus chapter 21 and 16. And he that stealeth the man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death, right? You can't steal people, man. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 24 and verse 7. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. So that's her sin. She stole a child. The Lord is not what just taking people's children, man, like an Edomite. So let's go back to this. Let's get back to this her account. 1 Kings 3 and 21. When I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. So a mother, she might be laying down, take her breast out, kind of nurse the child. Then she kind of looked at it and said, "Oh, this is not my son. What is this?" And the other woman said, "Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son." And this said, "No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son." Thus they spake before the king. So they're going back and forth. No, the dead child is yours. No, the dead child is yours. But the living child is mine. No, the living child is mine. So it's a big scene. You got to kind of picture this. They screaming. They kind of yelling. They foaming at the mouth. It's a big deal right here. Everybody's kind of watching this thing. You know, the king, he got people in the court. He got princes, he got mighty men, his generals, bodyguards, and everybody's kind of trying to, they scratching their head trying to figure out, you know, what the hell is going on. This is a big deal, right? You got to kind of picture this. 1 Kings chapter 3 and 23. Then said the king, the one said, this is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other said, nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman whose living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my sword, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, let it neither be mine nor thine, but divided. Then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged. And they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment. You see that? And Jake wouldn't think of that now. Jacob, like the movie, what's that movie? Life, right? And the warden of the prison was holding up the baby to all of the inmates. Because you had Can't Get Right. If you hadn't seen the movie, and you hadn't seen the movie, that's all right. You had Can't Get Right, who got the Edomite woman pregnant. And he got her pregnant, and you know, Esau was hot. Right? So he took the baby, he's trying to figure out which one of these brothers got his daughter pregnant. So he was taking the baby up and kind of matching them up, and he kind of got to Can't Get Right. Then he kind of started putting two and two together. But you know, something happened after that. Can't remember what happened, but something happened. Right? That's what man would do. Man will hold up the child to the face. Say, well, y'all kind of do look alike. Solomon didn't waste his time. He had enough wisdom, more than enough wisdom to say, here's the best way to handle this. That's called sound judgment. That is sound judgment, right? And he did something that a lot of brothers wouldn't even think of, right? To doing that in that matter under or that circumstance. This is 2 Samuel chapter 14 and verse. Here's another matter of judgment. 2 Samuel chapter 14 and 5. All right, let me see how much time I got. Okay, come. And the king said unto her, this is David, what aileth thee? And she answered, I am indeed a widow woman, and mine husband is dead. And thy handmaid had 2 sons, and they strove together in the field, and there was none to part them. But the one smote the other and slew him. And behold, the whole family is risen against thy handmaid, and they said, deliver him that smote his brother, that we may kill him, for the life of his brother whom he slew. And we would destroy the heir also, and so they shall quench my coal which is left, and shall not leave to my husband neither name nor remainder upon the earth. So this account goes into the revenger of blood. When you read Numbers, the 35th chapter, I believe Deuteronomy, the 19th chapter, you read about the revengers of blood, which says that, hey, if you kill somebody, right, and it could be what they call manslaughter, right? Manslaughter. If you kill somebody accidentally, right, the revenger of blood can come and kill you. Or if you murder somebody, right, these guys can come kill you, man. The family, the redeemer, the nearest of kin, they could chase. They by law they could chase you down and kill you. If you chopping wood with an axe, and the axe falleth off and hit a guy in his head and kill him, if his brother find out, his brother could kill you. He could come hunt you down. So that's what she's complaining about. She said, hey, look, if the family rise up and kill him, my husband's his name's going to be blotted out. And the king said unto the woman, go to thine house, and I will give charge concerning thee. And the woman of Tekoa said unto the king, my lord, O king, the iniquity be on me and on my father's house, and the king and his throne be guiltless. And the king said, whosoever saith aught unto thee, bring him to me, and he shall not touch thee any more. Then said she, I pray thee, let the king remember the Lord thy God, that thou wouldest not suffer the revengers of blood to destroy thee more. lest they destroy my son. And he said, as the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of thy son fall to the earth. Right? So the king had to deal with a matter at hand about the revenger of blood. And he executed judgment, but the judgment was essentially against him because of Absalom, his son. Right? And when you read this account, you'll see that when you read this, Absalom had to come back after murdering his brother and bring him back in, right? But the point of the matter is, David had to execute judgment. Solomon had to execute judgment. Matters are going to be presented before you, and we have to know how to deal with judgment and justice, right? Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 17, right? Deuteronomy chapter 17. Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse, let's start at verse, bear with me, 6. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. So that was the king. They would go before the king or the priest, right? And the Most High would be with that judgment, and that was essentially like the Supreme Court. If your matter was brought before the priest or the king, it was nothing higher than that, you know. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee, and thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left. So a lot of brothers, they may have to deal with a matter that's too hard for them. Then the matter is brought before other men, and the men tell you, you should do this. And they say, then they hear it, but they don't do it. They say, I heard what they said, but I think we should do it like this. Well, that's a sin. If the priests and the Levites told you how to handle the matter, then you got to handle the matter the way that they told you, because the Most High was with that judgment. You can't get emotional and say, yeah, I heard what they said, but I'm a fast on it. Ain't no fasting on it. You brought the matter before the judges, and they're the ones that said this must be done. You can't decline it and say, I want to do this or I want to do that. All right. And we're about to read about what's going to happen to that man. And the man that would do presumptuously. I mean, he said, look, to hell with the priests. To hell with them. I heard what they said, but I think I got this thing kind of figured out now. And the man that would do presumptuously and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. So if that guy goes off and goes against the judgment, that brother gets put to death. And all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously. Right? So that's a heavy matter right there, man. You had to follow what that king said, or it was a big deal. Right? It was a big deal if you didn't listen. Now I'm going to deal with the king. Now here's the king. And this shall Deuteronomy 17 and 18. And this shall be, actually, let's start at 14. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. So the Most High knew that Israel would look for a king. That's why 1 Samuel the 8th chapter, they asked for a king. That was already prophesied that they would look for a king. Then, Slakia, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So you can't vote for a heathen to rule over you. That's a cut to voting. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord has said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way. So a king couldn't be, making an allegiance with the heathen and just multiplying horses to himself. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself. Because if the king got 700 wives, he's not going to have time to administrate his kingdom. He's not going to have time to sit upon the throne of judgment. He's going to have all these wives. So a king couldn't just multiply and have 1,000 to 2,000 wives, because his heart would turn away. Look what happened to Solomon. Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. So he had 1,000 of them. And what happened? His heart got turned away. Right? So a king, you can't be just having all these wives, man. You got 7 wives, brother. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. So, our kings wasn't allowed to flex, flaunt, stunt, heap up gold and silver to themselves, man. They had a job they had to do. And it shall be, now here's the point. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that you shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. This is why the king had to be a master of the law. He had to literally write everything out of the law, make his own copy. So that way he's writing it, he's thinking about it. He's writing it, he's thinking about it. It had to be done. So the king was forced to know the law. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life. So the king just can't eat grapes all day and pop one, man. He was commanded to read the law every day. At first he had to write it out, his own, and that took time. But he had to do it. Then he had to read the law every day, that he may learn to fear the Lord God. It's like he fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. So the king had to, the Lord humbled him. He had to know how to deal with justice and judgment in the land. And he also, the Most High put the spirit on him as he read the law. He couldn't put his heart above his brother, right? Because a lot of kings, they start, over abusing their authority, and they become tyrants, right? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, the 6th chapter. Look at these heathen kings, man. Right? I mean, they do God knows what to their people. Look at these world leaders now. Look at the people, the oligarchy that rules the earth, man. Look how even Esau, and he's the king of this land, look how he treat the other Edomites, man. And he's an Edomite, right? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and 1. Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand, learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, you that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. So the Lord is calling out the kings, which is us. We are the kings. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsels. Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of God. Horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. So kings get a heavier judgment. because they know the law. They're over an entire kingdom. Did not Yahweh Shah say in Luke 12:47 on down, for to whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required, and to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So if you have sovereignty from the highest, and you have all of this in your hands, and you just let it go, you don't keep the law, you don't walk after the counsel of the Most High, you don't know how to execute judgment, the Most High is going to horribly and speedily come upon you. For a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. Right? And we're in high places. We're above all nations. We're a nation of kings and priests, and we will get a sharp judgment if we don't walk after the law, judge it right, know how to be a king, administer justice, read the law, and understand wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? But with that, I'm going to close up. Giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Yahushai. Most High willing you are edified. Kwam Yasha. Shalom.